Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Parks Investigative Live. I'm your host, Investigator Parks. You don't want to miss tonight's program. Got my special guest. He's no stranger to the program. It's none other than Mr. Robert J. Ray. Many of you may remember Mr. Ray as the former mayor candidate for Meridian. Mr. Ray is also a local business owner. And in one of his favorite quotes he has on his shirt, the genuine truth or the genuine truth. Which one you prefer, Mr. Ray?
The genuine truth. That's my trademark. Can't anybody else use that but me.
That's right. That's right. Well, Mr. Ray, it was such a pleasure to have you back onto the program. I know we talked before we came on live. We got a lot of things to discuss, especially with the uprise in the crime here locally in Meridian. Are you appalled about what's going on in our community?
Yeah, I'm anxious about it, but I'm not surprised by it. Uh, the one thing that the people in Meridian don't realize, and they are just so caught up in the now. See, this whole thing is you can send it back to the Willie Lynch syndrome, where he came over and had the slave owners dissemble and dissemble their slaves and made them hate each other for different reasons, such as light skin, dark skin, old and young, and female and male. And that's still going on today. That's what the issue is that these young guys are shooting in these houses. They don't have any concept of a human life and the value of it. And they hate each other. And they don't mind shooting at each other. And they don't care who they kill. The 5-year-old kid, it doesn't matter. If it could have been a 65-year-old person. All they know is that they do this and they go on to the next one.
All right. And I don't want to cut you off. I want to go ahead and get started the program. We're going to start out in prayer, if that's okay with you. And then we'll get into the discussions. If you would bow your heads, Heavenly Father, we ask that you put wings on the words tonight, add movement in the message, and power in the proclamation. We ask this to be done in your son, Jesus' name. Amen. Again, guys, if you're just now tuning in, you're watching Parks Investigative Live. I'm your host, Investigator Parks. My special guest, my favorite special guest, Mr. Robert J. Ray, a very unique individual, very intellectual. Smart, intelligent guy. So we want to hear what he has to say about the crime that's going on here. And I want to get right into the discussion because people are chiming in already. I got a lot of live viewers. Are you surprised, or should I say, are you a little shocked about the mayor being a little quiet up until yesterday? I think when he first came on, did the TOK live interview.
Yeah, I'm really sad about Mayor Jimmy Smith. Like I said in the beginning, and what I said was the genuine truth that he's got some illnesses, and he refuses to acknowledge that. If he would acknowledge his illnesses, then individuals would understand, and then we could kind of be calm with him a little bit, or either we can kind of go along with it. I heard the other somebody called me, and most of my people that called me, they in with the no. They say he was going to sleep there at the meeting the other day. I mean, that's not a real bad thing to do, but if you if things are going like they're going in the city, and you are at the meeting and you doze off and you sleep and you have to be woke up a couple, 2 or 3 times. That doesn't bode well for the city of Meridian and its leadership. It just doesn't. And so I would suggest that he be open and direct with the people and tell them, say, hey, yeah, I've had a stroke or two. I'm suffering with the own set of dementia, but I've got my doctor and he said I'm okay to govern. And then we can know. But when he just don't say anything and he's missing in action, that's what one individual was saying that has a podcast, and he's just not being open and direct like he should be about his illness, and I think that puts him in a bad light.
Okay, well, it's fair for me to say that I'm not aware of any illnesses that the mayor has, or at least he has not come out publicly and said it. So I'm gonna leave that up to your words spoken only. And but you know, I guess the question.
Let me share this before you go any further. I was on when we went on the WMOX show, and the host asked him point blank that one of the candidates said you had some illness, you had a stroke, you had dementia. He didn't deny it. He didn't say, no, I don't have any dementia. I don't have any strokes. I ain't had any stroke. What he said was that I go to see my doctor twice a month. So you can that's all he said about it. But if somebody I had dementia or something, I would deny it, right out if it wasn't true.
Right. Okay. Do you think that's affecting his leadership to run the city properly?
Oh yes, it does. Any type of illness, if you had migraine headaches, it would affect the way that you ran the city. Now, especially dementia and a stroke, these are real serious things as far as the brain is concerned, and it takes away from your cognition. It takes away from you being able to reason and to see things the way they should be seen, and to suggest things. So if he has these things, then it's going to be hard for him to really govern, especially a place like Meridian that's almost out of control, like it is.
Right, and we're going to get into that a little later in the program. We're going to talk about the crime, especially over the weekend, where the mayor, I will quote what he said, he was sickened by the news of the 6-year-old being murdered inside of his home, and likewise, I would use a better word of saying I was dumbfounded when I saw the breaking news on my WTOK app, and like any parent would who have young children. At the age of 5 years old, this young man did not deserve to die this way. There is a gun problem here in the city of Meridian and across the nation. Let's be fair about it. Chicago has reported one of the highest numbers of homicides this year, along with some of the other bigger cities. But here we're talking about Meridian, Mississippi, where a population of less than 40,000, and I don't know the exact number, but between 35 and 40,000, and it could be less than that, but still a fairable, nice sized city. But the type of crime that we're experiencing over the last couple of years is a little surprising. And, I can't say that we didn't see this coming, but 3 murders in one day in the city of Meridian, I have no words. And so something needs to be done. Now, with that being said, we know that the Meridian Police Department is currently without a chief. They had the opportunity to confirm the former chief, Chris Reed, which I thought that they was going to do. With that being said, do you see that being an issue for them not having their top law enforcement officers running the city?
That has to have a factor into it, because if you're having crime like you are in Meridian, and you're having these shootings, you got to have top-notch people in these places. If the criminals is watching too, when they see it's dissembled like the Meridian Police Department is, and it is dissembled, they don't have a chief, and the interim chief Gale, he didn't want it when he got it the first time. He didn't want it, and he definitely don't want it now, because the speech he made at the meeting was so short and cut.
Well, let me interrupt. Now, in all fairness to Chief Gale, and I know him, he's a great officer. Now, Chief Gale doesn't have what I would say a lot of years in law enforcement. I think if my memory serves me correct, it's 14 or 15 years. So if you're moved to the chief position, and just like what just happened in the past election, and a new mayor is elected, and he bring in his own chief or administration, then he's knocked out of that position. So he's got to go find him another career with the state. So I think it's fair to say that acting Chief Gale is playing it smart, playing it safe by protecting his retirement, stacking his years up so he can get to retirement, instead of taking that role at such a young amount of years, I should say, or early in his career, or halfway in his career, I should say. And so I think that was one of the deciding factor on his part. I don't want to speak for him, but I think I had heard that's one of the reasons why he didn't want to take that position, because there was a lot of uncertainty with the upcoming mayoral election, which it turned out that Mayor Bland ended up losing. And it appears that possibly he would have been out of a job come now. So I think that was more of a looking out for the future type deal. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, if he was looking out for his own person and his own family and stuff like that, he doesn't need to be in that position. I mean, this is selfishness stuff here. If he can't lay down his life for the city of Meridian, and I don't think he will, because this is not really his.
But he's acting. He's acting, Chief. I mean, he's still
acting. That's what right. If you're acting at something, you're really not confident with your decision that you're going to make, and you're probably getting advice from your captains over here, and then maybe one over here. Because I remember when I went down to see him about the instituting the systemic racism training in the police department, I thought he would be pulled to it, but then he brought in 2 white racist captains in there. And so I just don't have confidence that Chief Gale, acting Chief Gale, can get anything done. I think he's just waiting until they get a new chief, firm chief in there. I don't think he's too concerned about trying to do anything too much. Like you say, it might be because of his pension or something.
Well, let me ask you this now: regardless of who's the top law enforcement officer or who's chief, no one can predict these type of crimes that has occurred here locally, and so police just can't predict. Hey, it's going to be a murder on the east side of town, or it's going to be one on the south side. So, isn't it a little biased to kind of point the fingers at the police department? Basically, the question was, do you feel that them being without a current chief is some of the flack that they're catching when it comes to this increased crime that we're seeing here locally?
It may be, but it shouldn't be, because the police department is the one that has to be held accountable for this crime that's going on. And if they're not going to be held accountable, who is? It's just like I told them before. The police department, Meridian Police, is really dysfunctional, and it's a racist department. And if you don't deal with this issue there at the police department, then you're going to have these kind of. They're not going to care about who getting shot. They're not going to put themselves out there to on their head on the block trying to solve these murders. If you had the right type of police officer that I would have created, taking them through the systemic racism, then the people would trust them. When a shooting occurred, the police officer would have a relationship with the community out there, black and white, and they would tell them who did it. It's people right now know who shot that little boy, but they're not going to say anything about it because they are afraid that they may get retaliated on and their house might be shot, and they know that the police is not going to do anything anyway. They don't have confidence in the police when the police is racist also. So there are people in Meridian in between a rock and a hard place. They can't do anything about these young black dudes running around shooting in people's houses. And they can't do anything about the police being racist. So they just say, well, hey, I just stay out of it. So that's what's going on in Meridian now. The people don't have any confidence in the police department, and they know that it's racist. And everybody knows. The citizens council know it. I mean, the council knows it, and everybody knows it. But will they let anybody do anything about it? No. They want it to be racist, evidently. And when you got that kind of department, the white officers, they're not going to care about the blacks shooting at each other, shooting in their houses. So there you have it.
Okay. All right. Well, you heard it from Mr. Ray in his own words. And I would like to say that the words expressed on this program are strictly belong to the guests. And those are their words and not necessarily reflect my views or any job or association I'm affiliated with. So anyway, Mr. Ray, thank you so much for that. Let's move on to another topic. We talking about the crime here. You made mentions of the mayor, what we appear to be absence from the media. let's talk about jobs, industries. I know this was a talking point during your mayor run, but Meridian still seem to not land those big manufacturing jobs. The state of Mississippi has invested millions of dollars out there on the Interstate 5029 industrial park over a decade ago, and nothing major has landed. Is that due to the economy that we're in, or is that just poor leadership? We just don't have the people to go out there and recruit our city.
Listen, I've shared this several times. No big companies is coming to Meridian, Mississippi. I don't understand why these white supremacists and the rest of it out here think they can fool these people with these companies just because they go over across the highway and put up an industrial complex over there, and then promise, and then the mayor make these promises to them out there, whoever they go to see. Those people are not dummies. They know what's going on down here. They watch the news too, and they know that this is a corrupt city. It's a racist city, and they and nothing is done because other companies have come down here and got victimized trying to bring stuff into Meridian. And that EMBDC, which is one of the most cunning and dysfunctional businesses down here, they keep business from coming here. They'll promise them one thing, and then once the people decide to come, then they'll turn around and they'll say something else. They dissemble. That's why the EMBDC can't get anybody down here. And it's just that, although it's a perfect place for industry to have, but nobody's down here can go and talk these companies into coming down here because it's just a too corrupted, too racist city, and they're not coming. They're not going to come.
Okay. Sorry about that. I stepped away from the mic. I thought you was going to carry on further. But guys, if you're just now tuning in, you're watching Parks Investigated Live. I'm your host, Investigator Parks. We have special guest, Mr. Robert J. Ray. Many of you may remember him, the former mayor candidate. Also, the individual who's known for the famous quote that he made on TOK about the city of Meridian having the dumbest kid on the planet. It's fair to say. So many of you probably know Mr. Ray, and just curious to hear what Mr. Ray has to say post-election, see his input on how the administration is going. Let's go back to the first city council meeting, I should say, or the first work session, where a lot of the mayor's appointment was denied. Were you surprised by these actions?
I was kind of surprised by it because I knew that the fix it was already in, because I had gotten a copy of the report of all the three candidates and who put money into your campaign, and in Jimmy's campaign, it was all he got thousands and thousands of dollars from Republicans. Now, if you got any common sense at all, and you're running as a Democrat, and all of these rich Republicans are putting you $10,000, $5,000 in your candidate pot, it's something wrong with that picture. And so I already knew that the Republicans had bought him the election, and he wouldn't debate. They put up all the signs for him, and they gave him money to spend. I think he spent about $75,000 on his campaign, and all of that, and 90% of that money came from Republicans' pocket. But when we got down to the meeting, I figured that the council was going to go. I thought he already had the fix in that the council was going to go along with his nominations. But lo and behold, some people was their own authority, and they voted against his nominees. And that was really a surprise and shocking to a lot of people because usually if the mayor wants this, then in Meridian, he usually get it. But this time, it backfired on the Republicans. I think they were going to put Jimmy in there, and then he was going to be the puppet for the Republicans that had gave him all of this money, and he would make the laws and do what they wanted him to do. But since that didn't happen, So now he was lost. He don't know what to do because they had told him what to do and what they were going to do. But now he didn't. Now he had to think for himself. And in his condition, he couldn't come up with any other idea. That's why there's no any nominees up there. He didn't have any nominees of his own. He should have had nominees of his own to put up there instead of ones that they had told him to put up there. And now he's just out there on his own, just trying to figure out how to maneuver when his cognitions is not working right.
Okay. All right. Well, guys, again, those who are tuned in late or just now tuning in, we have Mr. Robert J. Ray on. He's our special guest on Parks Investigative Live. Mr. Ray is not afraid to say what's on his mind. I can honestly say that. Mr. Ray, I noticed that you started a YouTube channel, or at least you're doing some type of podcast on YouTube. You want to tell the viewers how they can, if they want to follow you, or how to watch some of your podcasts on YouTube?
Yeah, all you have to do is punch in the Organism Chapter 4, either / Robert J. Ray, YouTube, and it will take you to my channel. And I've got some aware videos on there that you should get and look and check out for your families. My last video, which I'm going to talk about a little bit about that with Mr. Potts when we get back home, is called the genuine truth about critical race theory. So, and that was the last one, and I just made one today. It's going to be about philanthropy and all of these billions of dollars being given away by these billionaires, and what good is it going to do? So I got those kind of things on there. I point to some things that's happening out in America, and then I put some things that from the Organism Chapter 4 out there. I mean, you can't go wrong if you punch on to my channel. You will be made aware of a lot of things because my process is not a one like it on the planet. It's the best process for fixing people, places, and things. But Meridian will not accept it because they do not want to be fixed. The people that's in charge, they like it the way it is. So just punch in the Robert J. Ray YouTube or either the Organism Chapter 4 and you'll get my channel.
All right. There you have it. Mr. Ray started a podcast there on YouTube. He gave you the information you need if you want to follow Mr. Ray. I had the chance to view some of the videos, didn't watch all in its entirety, but I was able to, just hit some of the highlights, and very interesting discussion as always. Mr. Ray, all your conversation are very interesting, and that's not a bad thing. It's just you don't hear many people talk like you, for lack of better terms. But it's always a pleasure to talk with you guys. If you have any questions for Mr. Ray, or if you want to rebuttal something he said, you can just type it in the comment section, and we'll try to get to the questions or the comments, as soon as possible, and we can possibly post your questions or comments on. Mr. Ray, we know you're a local business owner. You counsel many people around the area, and I know, of course, that's confidential. We're not going to ask you specifics, but are you still seeing new clients, or is this something that you just do on the side for old clients?
Yeah, it's been kind of hectic here lately with everything going on, with the COVID going on, and but I'm still taking new clients, and I'm trying to get someplace where I can get the people of Meridian to a building, so to speak. And like I said, my last video concerned turning Black Americans into white Americans. That's my last video. Turning Black millennials and Black Generation X into white millennials and white Generation X. And that should be what should be going on in America now. And that's what I'm trying to get the people to see.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. I thought you was done. Go ahead.
The critical race theory that the white supremacists are discussing all over, they don't want to put that in schools. Now, I know black people, they ain't probably ever heard of this. You know, I try to keep up on the latest thing that the white supremacists are doing that might affect the black race, and then I try to have that in my organism process. So when people ask me, I got the answers. My process, organism chapter 4, we have all of the answers. That's what I say. And that's why I have to keep up on every little minute particular thing. If I hear a thing, I say, hey, wait a minute, and I heard critical race theory, and that was coined by a guy named Christopher Rufo. And he's trying to fight against having this critical race theory in the classroom. And all that means is that instead of teaching the kids the lies about America and the way this country was formed, and they want to teach them everything that happened in this country, the slavery on down, the Reconstruction, and how they covered that up, and how they depicted black men in the Congress eating fried chicken and eating watermelon and drinking out of a whiskey bottle. That's the way they depicted that. And when students see that, they automatically think that's the truth because it's in the history books. So critical race theory is telling the truth about it. All of the lynchings that went on, and all of the Jim Crow laws that you had to do. You had to drink out of this fountain, and you had to go to the back door to get a sandwich at the restaurant. See, that's what they want to teach this. Some intellects want to teach this to the students in school, but the white supremacists, they don't want their white kids learning this stuff, because when they go home, they'll be asking their parents, say, did y'all really treat the black race like this? Did y'all work there for 300 years without any pay? Did they actually depict them like this in Reconstruction? Did the Jim Crow laws, did y'all do all this lynching and stuff? And that will make these white kids say, well, no wonder we got it made it easier than the blacks. No wonder the blacks is having problems. They should be having all kind of mental breakdowns and bad mental health if they went through all of that said. But the white supremacists don't want this taught in the school. But if it was taught, then white kids, they would have more respect for the black kids. They're so, well, hey, if y'all went through all this and y'all family went through this and y'all ancestors went through it, and y'all still behaving the way y'all are today and still struggling, but some of you making it, then hey, they'll take their hat off to you. And this is what needs to be taught. I mean, if they teaching lies in the school about it, just think about all of the black men who invented stuff, but they couldn't patent it because the black people couldn't get a patent. So they had to give it to the white man. He got the patent, claiming that he was going to take care of the black person who invented it, but he never did. He went on and kept the patent and made the money, and the black man couldn't do nothing. He couldn't take him to court, anything. So this is what needs to be taught in the schools today in order to get people to see the bigger picture of what America is today. Do you understand everything I said?
Yeah, I'm listening.
You haven't heard of that before, the critical race theory. You
no,
haven't heard of it?
No.
Now, if you haven't heard of it, that means that probably no one in your audience has heard of it. But does it make sense to teach the real, genuine, true history about this country? Do you think that would be better?
Yeah, I mean, if the way you're laying it out, I would agree. It would definitely increase the knowledge, or for those who want to know the history. I don't know necessarily if it'll bring change. Sometime when you relive old memories, you're not doing any good about it in some areas, right?
Well, if white kids don't have a clue as to why the black kids and race behave the way they do, then they're in a delusion. they think that black kids love them and want to be friends with them. And sometimes they go out together and things like this. But in actuality, a lot of these black kids have already been taught to hate white people and white kids. That the white kids have got a pass on things in this country, in which they have. And but the white kids, they think that the black kids really like them and really want to be friends with them. And when they get a pie in their face from a black kid, they want to know, why did they do that? Why do that? I thought we was friends. But these black kids' family members, and probably all of them, down to the minute particular, they've had bad experiences in the past with white people. A lot of their grandparents, and some of their great grandparents, they were lynched by these white people. And see, the white people have a tendency to think that black people get over this stuff. They seem to think that black people are over slavery. They ain't over slavery. It's just like it was yesterday. They think that black people have forgotten the Reconstruction era, when the Ku Klux Klan come out there and terrorize the black family like they did. They think black people, it's been so long, black people have forgotten about that. And they think that Jim Crow era, when they had all these laws passed against black, you couldn't do this, you couldn't do that, and they treated them like they were second class citizens. They think black people have forgotten that, but they haven't forgotten that. I mean, it was a couple just put up a memorial over in Newton for a lynching of their family members back in 39, I think it was, 1905. That's what it was. Now, and they are putting up. Who would think that? Who would think they would go out and put up a memorial to somebody that was lynched in 1905? So this is not over, people. I mean, the black race haven't forgotten any of that stuff. All of those lynchings that they've got documented up there in the Montgomery Lynch Museum and over here in the Civil Rights Museum. All of those people's relatives, they haven't forgot any of that. And they pass that right on down. And they pass it down to the millennials, and they're going to pass it on down to the Generation X. And when they look at white people, they're going to smile and they'll try to get along. But in the back of their mind, they're thinking, yeah, y'all lynched some of my relatives. And I'm not going to forgive you for that. This is what we got going on, but people don't understand. Black people themselves, a lot of them think that people don't forgot about that. But if it's been passed down, then it ain't forgotten about.
So have you forgiven him?
Oh, yeah. Well, my mentor got all of that, pushed that to the circumference. It's still in here, but it's not in the center of my being. You know, I don't hate white people now. I understand them, and I can deal with them. But the hatred that I had when I lived here in '64, you know, because right after they killed Michael and James, and I could have been with them if I hadn't had to work as a dispatcher that morning on the first shift. It could have been me. And then my cousin, who was a twin, Luther, the sheriff, the deputy sheriff, shot him down there in Philadelphia, Mississippi in '59, and ain't none of the Jacksons forgot that. None of them forgot it. And they probably never will. I mean, they shot him down in the street. Was nothing done about it. He just put his gun back in his holster, went on about his business. We took Luther, took him back up to Oak Grove there in Kemper County, buried him, put him in the ground, and that was it. That was the end of it. The white guy ain't thought about it at all, probably. He probably just like he stepped on a roach or something and went on about it. But the Jackson clan has never forgotten that. And they probably never will.
All right, Mr. Ray, it's a pleasure to have you on. We've been on almost 40 minutes, and our viewers they're still on live. And one final thought you would like to tell them, again, for those who join in late, to follow your YouTube channel where you talk about all this interesting discussions.
Yeah, I would just like to make this comment about the philanthropy thing. The philanthropy, that's another sham thing that goes on. Now Bezos just gave Van Jones $100 million. And that's phenomenal. Van Jones probably can't even comprehend how much money that he has been given to do good in America. But all of these philanthropy things is us fake change. Out of that whole 100 million, I would project that he's not going to do that much good in it. And see it in him having that $100 million. If he's the top person in that thing, he's not supposed to get $125,000 out of that money per year. So what is he going to do with all that $100 million? Do you think he's going to give it all away? And just think what you could do. You could make people just jump through hoops for days and days. You could corrupt people from here on out with $100 million. It's just going to be interesting to see what Van Jones does with that money. But just because people give away money, it's not going to do any good. I mean, they've been giving away for 100 years, and look where we're at now. We're still in the same shape. It doesn't do any good to give money away like that. And that's just what I didn't want to put that point in there, because that was a lot of people that give to charities down here, and it never does any good. So that's the last thing I want to share on that.
Okay. Wow. I didn't know Van had received that type of donations. I don't know how I missed that, because I normally watch him when he's on CNN and some of his other programs that he tend to be on. So is this something that just happened recently?
Just happened recently.
Wow.
You know when Bezos went up in the space, that was the day that it happened. He presented him with $100 million in a donation.
Wow. They must want him to run for president. That's amazing. All right, Mr. Ray, pleasure to have you on Parks Investigative Live. For those who want to follow Mr. Ray, he gave his YouTube information out. Just type in Robert J. Ray, like his YouTube channel, and you can follow him and watch some of his videos that he posts, I think, weekly, is what I'm saying. And Mr. Ray, a pleasure to have you on. Appreciate you chiming in on the uprise and the crime here in Meridian, and some of your input on some of the things that's going on in your opinion. And I really appreciate that. So as I would say, as we end the program, enjoy life and living. And Mr. Ray, so long, and I hope to see you soon.
Yep. Thank you for having me on, man. I love Meridian. I'm going to try to do everything I can to see that it grow.
Okay, and I'll leave you with the promo video. Thanks again, guys, for tuning in.